we start by you just introducing yourself and telling us what you're doing here at this fashion show.
So I'm Evan Ducharme. I'm the founder of my eponymous fashion label. I'm Métis with ancestral ties to the Cree, Ojibwe, and Saulteaux peoples from St. Ambrose, Manitoba, Treaty 1. And I've lived on Unceded Coast Salish territories for the past almost 10 years. And it's my first time in Calgary for Otapiaki, and I'm presenting a new collection tonight.
Wow, and how did you get into fashion?
I've always been interested in aesthetics, mostly my grandmothers, my mama and my mama. They were great inspirations of style and elegance and, I don't know, a point of view about how to dress. And as I got older, I got very interested in sewing, and my mama was the community sewer, and I used to watch her sew, and just that was part of our relationship, was just this art of garment making. And then as I got older, my great aunt, my Pepe's sister, taught me the basis of my sewing knowledge, and moved to Vancouver fresh out of high school. 10 years later, the business is kind of booming, and it's very exciting. Yeah.
So I imagine you've had quite a few shows, right? A few runways and stuff.
Yeah.
And you've made different collections. What was the very first show like for you?
The very first show, I would count my first show out of design school to be like my first independent, not done in fashion school where I was needed to be presenting my work to instructors. This was all my own instincts. That was at Eco Fashion Week, and Miriam LaRoche, the founder of Eco Fashion Week, gave me that opportunity to put my work on a runway, and that's very rare in the fashion industry, and was really kind of a launch to my career, and got me started in the industry, really.
What was that like? What did that feel like, that experience?
I always knew that was where I wanted to be, so it just felt like it was the right thing. A becoming, you know, it's like I was stepping into what I was meant to do. Yeah.
Wonderful. What are some challenges that you've faced working in the fashion industry?
Oh, a laundry list of things. The fashion industry can be really inaccessible to people to access if you don't have any access to generational wealth or family money or any kind of financial backing. So being independently owned and independently funded my whole career, it's been very interesting and gratifying, I think, to get to where I am now, just off of bootstrapping, I guess you could say. But also just the anti-indigeneity that I've experienced in the fashion industry, and the cultural appropriation, and the whiteness that has prevailed in Western fashion for so long. And I think that events like this are vital to switch that shift and show the fashion industry that this is the way forward, and that Indigenous people should be at the forefront of changing the fashion industry.
Wonderful. So with that in mind, where do you see yourself in the next 10 years? What do you want to do with your fashion?
Could go one of two ways. Either the brand expands to accessories, shoes, different categories. We own a factory and making everything to the same standard and the same quality and the same ecological footprint that it's currently being done. Or I move back to my territory, build a shack, and just do custom work for the rest of my life, because it could really go either way. Because I really do love to do custom, but also I think that just now that after having done this certain model of made to order for my brand, is that it can be scaled. It's just a matter of having the capacity to do that and making sure people are compensated accordingly for their work and their talents.
Wow. So what went into preparing for this fashion show specifically, or this collection that you're presenting tonight?
It's been about a year in development, and that is just a very long research process on my part, and figuring out what the message needs to be. What does it mean to wear Evan Ducharme, or what is the necessary message to get out right now, both as an Indigenous person, as a queer person, and then also someone who understands that fashion is the second most polluting industry on the planet, and that we Indigenous people should be at the forefront of, again, changing that.
Wow. Knowing that there are a lot of youth looking up to you, or looking up to people in your position, looking for role models that look like them or live similar lives as them, is there anything that you would say to someone who's growing up wanting to be a part of the fashion industry but exists in these marginalized communities?
that it's not always necessary to have to move to a major metropolitan area that is very expensive to live in. You know, like you can develop your craft on your own. That depends on the area, the type of the fashion industry you want to be in. Do you want to be a performer or a model, or do you want to be a photographer or a designer, a stylist, a producer? Like there's so many different hats that you can wear in the fashion industry, and so many different talents that can be used. But it's just about like you can work within your capacity and still achieve your dreams, but also never let anyone tell you can't do it, because you know, I came from a very small Métis community in Manitoba, and I don't think my parents or my grandparents or any of my ancestors ever thought I'd be doing what I'm doing, but I'm grateful that I get to, and it's because of them that I get to be in places like this.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. That was a really wonderful interview.
Thank you.
It was lovely to meet you.
Lovely to meet you too.
Thank you.
Evan.
Alia.
Evan.